In the third Capture the Sarrum programming exercise, we're looking at the procedure InitialiseBoard, and we have to imagine that it's been found that in the classic game of Capture the Sarrum, actually the Sarrum always starts on the right with the Mars penny on the left of the Sarrum, which means that for white the position that we've already got in our sample game and in our regular sort of classic start game is correct. That's for white. But for black, obviously, because they're on the other side of the board, actually the Mars penny and the Sarrum should be the other way round. So the black Mars penny should be in position 5, in file 5, and the black Sarrum should be in file 4. And we're asked to make a change to the InitialiseBoard procedure so that in the classic game where you're starting the game from the beginning, that is reflected in the start positions. So when you look at the InitialiseBoard code, we can ignore all of the beginning part, because this beginning part of code here is if the sample game is set to yes. So that's if they're playing the sample game, and we know that in the sample game all of the pieces are already sort of scattered over the board anyway, so the start positions are irrelevant in that case. But we're looking after the else, because the else is like if we're starting a game from scratch. This is the bit that matters to us. And in the second rank, everything's set to black readum because you've got a line full of black readums, and in the 7th rank, everything's set to white readums. Then it's gone through and it said, okay, then in the first rank and the second rank, that's the top line of the board and the bottom line of the board. Obviously, it will be different. The pieces will be different because it's not like where we had a whole line full of readums. The actual back lines of the board have got different pieces, but obviously at the start, all of the black ones will be in the first rank and all of the white ones will be in the 8th rank. So we can at least know that whatever pieces are there, it's going to start with B if it's in rank 1 and W if it's in rank 8. So that's all taken care of. The bit we are interested in is this case statement here, which then goes through and works out based on the position whether it should actually be G for the gigs gear or E for Etlu and so on and so forth. And so it's this bit, these two lines of code here, that we're interested in, because this is saying that regardless of whether it's black or it's white, we're going to have the Mars penny in position 4 and the Sarrum in position 5. But we've just been told that actually for black that's got to change. For black they've got to be the other way around. So that means we can't just have this straightforward one line sort of case option for each of these situations. If it's 4, that's not enough information on its own to tell us what piece needs to go there. We're also going to need to consider something else. So because we're going to make each of these parts of the case statement more than one line, each part's going to need a begin and an end first of all. So I'll put a begin and end on there, and a begin and end around here too. And now we need to add a little bit more logic to work out which piece should go where. So if it's a 4, then if we're talking about rank 8, if we're talking whites, then everything, this current code is good. So if rank number is equal to 8, because remember that's the situation in which we're looking at the white pieces, if rank number is equal to 8, then that is absolutely correct. It should be a Mars penny. However, if it's not rank equal to 8, in which case that means it must be rank equal to 1, then we're actually going to have a line of code that says something slightly different. Just get that lined up there. So instead of passing the M for Mars penny, we're going to enter the S for Sarrum. So I'm sure you can see then, having seen that it's going to be very, very similar what goes on under this next piece of code, because if the position is 5, then still, again, if rank number is 8, so if we're looking at the white pieces, then what was there before is correct. But if we're not looking at rank 8, then we need to switch it around. Of course, you could probably copy and paste this to be a bit quicker, but I find that quite often if I copy and paste I make silly mistakes, so because I'm quite a quick typer, I prefer to write out the code myself. I'm just going to show you that running, just to make sure it's all working. Satisfy yourself and me as well, just to make sure there's no mistakes I need to check in my code. It's a little bit slow to compile. Oh, you see I have made a mistake. It looks like it's to do with, I might have one too many ends there by the looks of things. Let's try again. That looks better now. Quite often when you add begins, it adds an end automatically for you, and then I type another one. So just watch out for things like that in the exam. That's why correct indentation is so important, because I could spot really easily there what had happened. I don't want to play the sample game because I want to see what happens when we're starting a game from scratch. So the white, we were told, is fine for white Marzipanni and then the white Sarrum, but for black hopefully they should be the other way round, and you can see that they are. Okay? So in file 4 we've got a Sarrum for black and Marzipanni for white, and it's the opposite in file 6. It was like the other way round. So we've successfully completed that task.